I used to feel so overwhelmed every single day of my life. And I used to blame everyone else outside of myself for why I was feeling so overwhelmed. And I've come to realize that the reason for that was I just had a lack of boundaries. I didn't have any boundaries. Like I just said yes to everything. I was the yes man. And that has led me to a lot of unique, interesting experiences in my life, which I'm grateful for. That wouldn't have come otherwise if I didn't say yes. But saying yes too much to things that are not important actually brings more overwhelm and more stress and feeling like you got the weight on your shoulders, right? So I was reading this book. It's about boundaries anyway. Basically, the lady who wrote the book, she said, I got the name, I think it's called Find Boundaries, Find Peace, I think it's called. And she said, in her 14 years of therapy, 90% of all the issues that are presented to her, stem from a lack of boundaries. It's always a boundary problem, right? So what do I mean by this? So in my own life, right? Like if I am just being too nice to someone and I'm being like a yes man to one of my friends in my life and they're doing something that's bothering me, but I don't say it's bothering me and I don't set a boundary, then I will feel stressed out about that thing or about meeting them or about them constantly trying to message me and call my phone. And when I didn't set a boundary, so that stresses me out. And the lack of expressing how that makes me feel adds more stress to the fact that they're calling me. Like, why are you calling me? I don't want you to call me. But I never actually said that. And I just get passive aggressive angry because they're doing something that I don't want them to do, but there was no boundary there. And when they're doing this thing, I don't express how that makes me feel and to tell them to stop. And so that is basically the fact that I just didn't have the tools. I didn't have the tools of healthy communication to say,
hey, I didn't appreciate it when you just call me randomly. Please, can you, in the future, message me before you call me?
I didn't know how to say that before, right? I didn't have the tools. Just like the plumber, if your sink's leaking, the plumber needs to know that first of all, he needs to know how to fix it, then he has to have the tools to fix it. I didn't have the tools, okay? So that's one example of boundaries being an issue, right? It's like when you feel like people are taking advantage of you, and it's easy to think that and blame them rather than looking at yourself and being like, actually,
if I had a boundary, then they wouldn't be doing that.
Like, because you teach people how to treat you. And so I'm consciously aware of that, especially these days, because I'm getting older, I'm not getting younger, as obviously everyone is. And I have to be more protective of my time. So I have to set firm boundaries. And another problem that I encountered in this journey was I always felt guilty for setting a boundary in the past. And to some certain extent, I do a little bit, but it's gotten a lot better. So I would feel bad for saying no, and I'd want to justify why I've said no, instead of just saying I can't make it. Because I always used to take responsibility for how the other person felt. So if I say no, let's say,
no, I'm not coming out today. I'm working.
And then, like, that's an acceptable thing to say. And now I can easily say that without any guilt or anything, right? But before it was like, fuck, like I have to explain myself because they're going to feel bad that I'm not coming out. And it was all stemming from people pleasing. Like, because I wanted to please the other person, I was feeling bad about putting my needs before theirs. Because what a people pleaser does is they put other people's needs before their own. Right? And that was what I was doing for so long. And I realized where that came from. That came from when I was 16 years old. We had a house party at my house in England. And it was a barbecue. And I think, when I was 16, that's right. 2005.
Fucking hell, I sound old, don't I?
But yeah, bloody hell, I'm old. Anyway, so when I was 16 years old, I don't know why, no one told me to do this, but I just assumed the role of host. I got everything you need. Like, you arrive at the door, I'll greet you, I'll put your coat up, I'll get you a seat, I'll get you drinks, I'll bring your plates of food from the barbecue, everything. I did all that crap for that whole day. And my mum's friends, they would go up to her and be like, "Oh, Aaron's such a good boy. He's doing so well. You should be really proud of him. You've raised him so well." All this stuff, right? Obviously, my mum's ego is like fucking huge, and then she's like feeling proud and stuff, which is great. You know, I love my mum, but the reason I bring this up is because what I made that mean. So what I made that mean at that time, and again, I just want to reiterate. So we are all meaning-making machines. So there's an event that happened, and then we make a story up about that event, okay? So the story I made up about that event, because the thing is the story we make up about the event, that is what shapes our life, not the actual event. So whatever shit has happened to you in your life, that's objective, that's happened, right? But it's the story that you've made up about that event, that's how you live your life. So for me, the story I made up about that event was,
oh, I need to put other people's needs before my own, then I'm going to get love and acceptance and approval and praise.
Right? That's exactly what happened. Because I didn't eat for like 5 hours. I was like one of the last people to eat cold chicken on the barbecue, right? Because I was helping everyone else get food and get drinks and all that stuff and being an entertainer. And so I put my own needs of eating on the back burner to please everyone else. And I got a feedback, I got the reward, which is the praise and acceptance, approval, and I felt good about it. I remember that day, I was like, fuck, this is feeling great. Like, I help everyone else, and then they tell me that I'm doing a great job, and I feel good about myself. So then I learned from that moment, oh, I put other people's needs before my own, I get what I want. And that is how a people pleaser, that's what a people pleaser is, putting other people's needs before your own, because you're hoping that you're going to get what you want. So it's actually a form of manipulation, right? It's like, if I put your needs first, then I'm going to get what I want, right? And it's not a really nice way, especially in intimate relationships. It's let me tell you. So, of course, this plays out in my intimate relationships. It has before, right? Because it's a pattern. It's a pattern of behavior. It's like in my intimate relationships, how that looks like is a people pleaser overexerts. So I would overexert myself in a relationship and be mad when I don't get the reciprocation back because I'm expecting something. So it's actually, you're not giving. I wasn't giving because I wanted to give. I was, in my mind, consciously, I was giving because I wanted to give, right? But subconsciously, I actually wanted to receive something back. I wasn't aware of that, though. I just thought, I'm giving this girl so much. And I asked for one little thing, and it's a big deal. Like, I've given you so much. So it's actually like, I'm actually expecting her to give me stuff. It's not like I'm just giving from love my heart, which I thought I was doing, which is crazy. But yeah, this is all the stuff I've been working on this year and the last couple of years, actually. It's all to do with myself, my relationship with myself, and how my trauma is playing out. But it's my up to me to heal it, right? It's like, at what point, Jimmy Carr in his book, he said, at what point do you stop blaming your parents? So I don't blame my parents for anything. I'm aware of where these patterns of behavior have come from. And now I'm working to undo those patterns, because that doesn't serve me in a relationship to overexert and expect something back and then be mad when I don't get it. That's not a healthy dynamic, right? It's a toxic dynamic, actually. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to share in this video about boundaries, and I actually went to people pleasing. That's a whole other topic, but boundaries is so important, because if you're blaming someone, then you have to point the finger at yourself and be like, where am I not setting a boundary which is allowing this person to do this behavior that I don't like, that bothers me? And what a part of me is scared to speak up? Why am I scared to express myself verbally? Or do I know how to do that, right? That's another thing. Do I actually know how to express myself when something bothers me? Do I know how to relate to my own emotions? Like, how do I feel about what they just did to me? And how can I express that to them, right? So this is all the things that I've been going through and learning, because, again, this is emotional intelligence. So I think this is incredibly important in life, because, like, I'm so proud of my own self, because now I know that when I bring a child into this world, I'm going to be able to relate to my kid way better than I guess my parents related to me, because I have this emotional intelligence aspect, and I'm continuously honing this, right? I'm continuously learning more and undoing the programming and the beliefs I have around it, around For example, I had a girlfriend who I broke up with because she was stressing me out, and I just perceived her emotions. She was the most feminine girl I've ever been with. I just perceived her as being like really stressing me out, when really she was just experiencing emotions that I was uncomfortable with witnessing. And I didn't know how to deal with it, didn't know how to hold space for her, right? And let her feel the emotions. So I just thought she was stressing me out. When in reality, she was just being a woman, right? And so that was highlighted. At the time, I didn't know this, but now I know that that was just my lack of emotional intelligence at the time, which is why I couldn't relate to her properly. And I didn't feel the emotional connection with her because of that, right? And so, yeah, this kind of stuff is what I coach my clients on as well, because when you have people problems, most times it's a boundary problem, or it's, for example, or it's a you problem, right? It's like, if you're complaining about an employee that's not doing their job, I used to do this too. That's not an employee problem. That's a you problem, right? And it's simple as that. Like most things in life, the problem is us, right? So instead of pointing the finger, look inward and take responsibility. Okay, why am I tolerating this? Because we get in life what we tolerate, right? So why am I tolerating this employee that's underperforming? What part of me wants, like, why am I tolerating that? And then you start to unravel the answers. Why am I'm afraid of conflict. I'm afraid of telling this person, yo, like, if you do one more thing like that, you're out the door because this is unacceptable. I'm afraid of conflict. Okay, now we need to work on that. Why are you afraid of conflict? What happened in your life which made you make up a story of why conflict is bad? Because that's usually what happens. So for me, anger is an emotion that I've struggled with my whole life. And it's a work in progress. I'm not going to tell you that I've healed that. But when I was a child, I would see my dad and my mum argue, and I saw them getting angry, visibly angry on their face. And so as a child, I thought, oh, that's bad, and I wanted to make peace. So I'm naturally the peacemaker. When I see people being angry, I like to just separate them and peace. I don't like seeing anger because of how I was raised and what I saw when I was a child, right? And what I made that mean for myself. So therefore, I don't want to make other people angry. And that's a problem because sometimes what you say is going to make people angry. And it's not because you want to make people angry, but you have to be okay with that, right? And I have to be okay with that, that sometimes people are going to get angry. And how can I diffuse a situation and just accept that this person's angry? Okay, you're angry. I can tell you're angry. Like, just accept it instead of the way I respond to anger before was I don't know how to respond to anger. Like, it's just, I just shut down. Like, I'm just like, this is not my person. I used to judge that emotion of anger, and that affected my relationships. And especially, like, sometimes I would get angry with my intimate partner, and it would actually scare her away in a sense, because she's like, oh, I don't feel safe anymore because you just expressed a little bit of anger, like visually on my face. And but I'm not an angry person, but it comes out in other ways, like passive aggressiveness and stuff like that. And that's stuff I've been working on, you know? So again, boundaries is the key to that, because if someone does something that bothers me because there was no boundary there in the first place, like if you leave the door open in your house and someone walks in, it bothers you because they just walk into your house and they didn't even ask, but the door was open, right? So it's like, that's a you problem. Like, if the door was closed, they have to knock. So it's like, it's always an us problem, right? And we're just blaming other people. It's not their fault. They didn't know. They just walked in. But it's your fault because you didn't have the door there. And, you know, there wasn't maybe no extra instruction on the door. So it's like, what can you do to safeguard your own space and your energy as well? Because this is all related, right? So if people are overstepping your non-existent boundaries, then you're using mental energy to combat that, and that's just energy that you could be putting elsewhere towards something productive instead of trying to put out fires. So this is just some food for thought. And again, like I said, this is stuff that I coach my clients on, because my clients are CEOs, entrepreneurs, busy professionals, and everyone goes through life. Everyone has people problems, you know, whether it be your spouse, your kids, your employees, your colleagues. Everyone has people problems. So boundaries is something that is a growth area of mine, and I haven't fully figured that out, but I'm on a journey, and I've healed a lot of the stuff that I've mentioned in this video. So Yeah, and everyone I speak to has these kind of problems, right? So it doesn't matter who you are, like you're going to have some sort of people problems, and that's what business is. It's just dealing with people, right? So it's really important to be aware of yourself and work on yourself, because how you feel about yourself and the things that you've healed in yourself are projected out onto the world, right? So once I became better with dealing with anger, then I'm able to help you deal with your anger, right? When I help myself with my own boundaries, I'm able to help you with your boundaries, because I can see what the root of the problem is. When people complain to me, I can see the root of the problem. A lot of times, because I've done lots of in-depth work on myself, your inner world creates your outer world, right? If you don't like what's in your hand, you've got to change what's in your head. And so this is what I'm talking about in this video, is this is all the inner work that goes ahead and creates the outer results. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more information on what we're doing to help people like yourself get in amazing shape mentally and physically, because we're talking about mental health and physical health. It's not just one or the other, because they're both linked, right? So if you want to improve your mental health, like fortify, strengthen your mindset, and also strengthen your body and have all-day energy and mental clarity, no brain fog, no bloating when you eat, and be strong and lean and increase your longevity, go ahead and click the link below this video, watch that web class, put your name and email in, and go ahead and book your free call, and I'll talk to you soon. My name is Aaron. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Ciao.